Hi, everyone, and good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending where you are. Good to see you all. Tommy O says, evening, purebloods. Yes, indeed. Good evening, all my pureblood friends. Thanks for turning up. It's obviously our friend over in the Getters is talking about Korean fried chicken night. Spicy. Well, we're going to have some spicy conversation. Hi, Republican Rocker, as well. Good to see you. So, as always, it's Wednesday night. It's myself and my compatriot Jed, my producer, and we've got a lot of stuff to get through now. We're broadcasting this one onto the Facebooks for lols, YouTube pretty much for lols as well, and then onto Twitter, onto Getter, onto D Live, onto Odyssey, onto Rumble. So, aloha. Hey, Donny girl, soon I will be saying Meli Kaliki Maka to you. And you know what that means, don't you? How many people on the stream knows what Meli Kaliki Maka means? Or as Bing Crosby calls it, Meli Kaliki Maka. Yeah. Who says you don't get culture on this platform, by the way? So we've got lots and lots of stuff to go through. I'm just going to give you a minute or two to get all warmed up here. Hi, Matt, all the way from New Zealand. The Hobbit Kingdom ruled over by the horse-faced tyrant, Jacinda. Hi, Chris Davies, my good friend as well. Big Vern, all the way from, where's this? You are Ballykelly, center of the known universe, Big Vern. And of course, Chris Davies. Yes, Donny Girl knows what Meli Kaliki Maka means. But does any of the rest of you? That's the question. I've raised the bar, and we haven't even started. Right. So look, I think, yes, I can see you all there. So I will Meli Kaliki Maka. Yep, there we go with the Christmas tree and the palms on it, Donny Girl on the Getters. So as I said, thanks very much for being here, wherever you are. If you're watching this on any of the platforms, you're very welcome. And, Wednesday's kind of kickback Wednesday, really, with Jed and myself. So, yes, Republican Rocker, he gets it. Meli Kaliki Maka means Merry Christmas in Hawaiian. How do I know that? Because I was in Hawaii at Christmas time. A good number of years ago, I actually went to Hawaii over the Christmas holidays, and I'm sure I saw the new year on the Honolulu beach, which I'm sure Donny Girl's only too familiar with. So, but I'm talking of Hawaii, and I can see here that Chris Davies is saying it's freezing in Accrington. Freezing in Accrington. Who else have we got here? Sunny Derbyshire. James Tyler. Sunny Derbyshire. Are you sure about that? And maybe it is. Maybe it's not. And this Pems Het says Nadal. Oh, I'm not even going to pronounce that, but I'm sure I know what it means. Ulbaz, good to see you here. Right. Okay. And of course Vicky, all the way from Ron DeSantis country in Florida. Billy Piper in the Shires. Good to see you, Billy. And as I say, we got a lot of chat to go through. Now, usually I set up a few topics with Jed that we should maybe talk about. But there's one thing I wanted to chat to you guys about just right off the top. And Jed doesn't really know the details in this one. So forgive me if I just take a few moments to outline something that happened this afternoon in England. Well, actually, there's two things happened, wasn't there? Because we read about the terrible drownings in the Channel, where I believe 4 of those who were being smuggled in by people smugglers, unfortunately, the seas got rough and they went in the water and they drowned. Very, very sad, very, very tragic. Remember, all life is sacred. So I was sorry to read that. And of course, the thing is that none of this would be happening if we turned all the boats around. And that's why I argue, if you want to save lives, turn every boat around. Save lives. What's wrong with that? And if there's any responsibility for the sad loss of these lives, it lies with Macron, because they came from France. It lies with Macron. In a way, well, the British government's responsible too for being so absolutely supine about it. But there we go. That is one of the stories that is dominating the news today. But here's the thing, right? That's not the story I want to talk about because I'm going to give you a twist on it. And here's my twist. In the last couple of hours, I was sent an audio. Yes, Chris, another child found dead in Birmingham. Sad. Um, an audio of an ambulance call, right? Now, stick with me in this one. So, this was an ambulance driver recounting to, let's say, a mutual contact, something that happened today to him. So, he and his ambulance crew received a call, and it was from concerning a 45-year-old male, a married man, married man, putting up his Christmas tree in his front lounge. And the call came in, and there was the suspicion was that the chap had had a heart attack. Okay, so off goes the ambulance to deal with this very, very alarming situation. They get a call. They get a call before they get the length of the gentleman's residence. The call is from a hotel, but it's not a hotel. It's a hotel that's now a migrant center. And one of those in the migrant center has got the flu or thinks he's got the flu. That's, I believe, recorded as a category A or a category 1 because they don't speak English. So somebody in the home said, "Oh yeah, you got to come and see this person. We think they've got the flu, but we don't know what it is." Hi, Leslie Butler. So the ambulance diverted to the resident, the migrant hotel, collected the alleged flu sufferer, brought him back to hospital, and then they went back to deal with the gentleman in his room who collapsed. Guess what happened? On the way, they got another call, a second call, this time from a different hotel, which was also being used as a migrant center. Exactly the same situation. There was somebody, and they were saying, "Listen, we've got someone here's got the flu. They're not very well. You need to come and collect them." And that's exactly what happened. So they had to come for the second time around, turn around, collect this migrant who had the flu or suspected he had this flu, and bring them back to hospital. So by the time they got to the 45-year-old chap lying on his floor, trying to put his Christmas tree up with a suspected cardiac arrest, well, it wasn't a suspected cardiac arrest because guess what? Yeah, he was dead. Dead. Family lost their father, this afternoon, and that's the reason why it happened. And I've got the audio evidence of everything I've just said, so I'm not going to play it because I want to protect identities. But I think it's an incredibly sad story. I wonder what you think about that one, folks. I mean, Jed, I don't know if you want to hop in, but that's the that's really the full story, and it kind of sickens me to the core to think that a British taxpayer died on his carpet on his living room floor because the ambulance was constantly being diverted to migrant hotels. So, Jed.
David, there would have been a time I would have been surprised and shocked. But unfortunately, I am not. And the thing is, I mean, you started this segment with the migrants in the channel.
Yeah.
Well, when I heard that this morning, and I heard that through the old Twitter sphere from Sly News, and this was my response. In fact, it's a bit difficult to see there, so I'll just bring it up a bit more, and I'll make it a bit larger so everybody can see.
Yeah,
that was my response. Maybe they should have stayed in the safe country: France, Italy, Germany, Albania. The list goes on. Sad to hear of the deaths, but all the governments across Europe and the UK are to blame for not stopping this in the first case, when they knew that they can, but didn't want to. They knew stop all this, but they don't want to. And the fact that Richie Sunak has said, "Oh, we'll stop them." No, what he's trying to do is buy your vote. He can't stop them. He won't stop them because he actually doesn't want to stop them. So sadly, David, your tale of war will happen more and more.
Well,
because we are now second-class citizens in our own country.
Yeah, well, Jed, that's exactly the point. That is the point is that the way things are now, the needs of illegal migrants, let's call them what they are being put before those of British citizens, and it's costing the lives of British citizens. Gorgo Knight says it's horrible. It's horrible. Yes, it is, Gorgo Knight. It's absolutely horrible. I've listened to the call, so I can, there's an element of this. I'm just recounting it, Jed. But if you heard the voice,
Yeah, yeah.
the chat of the ambulance, a very, very distraught ambulance driver, it must be said, talking about this. And, as you say, you're right. It's going to happen more and more and more. But I'll tell you what, Chet, that story about the migrants drowning in the Channel has been all over the news. That death in that English town, a northern English town, that's going to go. No one's going to know anything about it. The
No,
guys,
no, of course not.
yeah,
No,
but that infuriates me. That
no,
makes me.
no. This is David. You see, I'm sorry. I'm been in reality today as it goes, and I, it's what I expect. I'm banging my head against my mic here. It's what I expect. I don't expect anything else from this government. And David, I'm a broken record. If you want reform, vote reform. Labour will not get. Labour have just stopped Sunak's plan. I've just seen. I saw the headline on Maya Tusi, on the video of Maya Tusi. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet.
Yeah.
But he's already stopped it. So that's Sunak's plan, his 5-step plan, out the water.
Well,
okay, along with Braverman's, along with Priti Patel's, none of them want to stop this. What it needs is a radical new government.
Well, we're going to get on to that because we're going to talk about the Conservatives, Labour, and all of that. We're going to segue into that in a second. But I just wanted to finish this little bit at the beginning by, I mean, there is a family mourning a father this evening, and it was completely unnecessary because that ambulance, Jed, could have got to him. It could have saved him his life. The ambulance drivers knew that they could have, and when they arrived there, they knew that it was too late, and I only.
Well, it's one of those days. Could have, would have, isn't it?
Yeah.
Could have, would have. But the problem is there are groups of people now who take priority. There are groups of people who are having.
Yeah.
They keep talking about this £5 to £6 million a day spent on migrants in hotels. Well, as Steve Law said on Monday night, it's more like 20 million.
Yeah, he was right. Yeah.
With all the staffing and you name it, and transport and food and stuff. So this is just costing us an arm and a leg. Yeah, we have veterans on the street. We have grandma and grandpa freezing to death because they're terrified of putting the heating on. Yeah. And then we have a government that's set on net zero. Yet yesterday, there was 1% came from wind. Why? Because the wind didn't blow. And if wind doesn't blow, you don't have wind energy. If the sun doesn't shine, you don't have solar energy. But can you get that through the thick heads of any single politician? No. Why? Because they're on the take, because they own the land. They're the ones that are being subsidized to have a wind farm on their land or a solar array on their land. And they're making the policies that's feeding them their money.
So just a quick shout out to Kim. Thank you, Kim, for being on the stream. Thanks to Ultron. Thanks to James. Claude's joined us. He wants to know, are we talking about Andrew Bridgen's speech yet? No, we haven't got that.
You want to play it later, David?
We haven't got that one at Claude, and we may not get to it because I'm talking about my outrage about the fact that British citizens are dying in their homes because ambulances cannot get to them because they're being prioritized and diverted off to pick up illegal migrants who think they might have the flu. Absolute disgrace. So there you go. Anyway, I've said my piece on that, but some of these things really rile me. Okay, Jed. So we're gonna now move on to the ground you've actually touched on. There was a poll came out today. Hi, Dreamer. Good to see you as well. By the way, over on the Getters. There was a poll come out, I think it was this morning, which was really interesting. And, polls are polls, Jed. We all know that. Everyone watching this knows that you can't read too much into polls, but they're an indication. And for as long as I can remember now, certainly since March 2020, I've been damning this government. They're not real conservatives, they're fake conservatives. They hate you, everyone out there. They hate you all, treat you with contempt. And that's been my view on the Conservative government. And we've gone through the farce of, Boris Johnson and all of that. And then, yes, Liz Truss, and then Rishi Sunak. We've seen all this, Jed, going on. And all the time I've been saying, well, this has got to be really affecting them in the polls. In the polls. So out comes a poll today. And in this poll, they're suggesting that if there was a general election held today, uh, the conservatives, the conservatives would lose 300 plus seats. They would go back down to 69 seats, I think. Meanwhile, Labour would go up to over well in excess of 320 or whatever. So you would get a Labour government in 2024 with a supermajority, Jed. You would get the Tories just wiped, just like gone. 68 seats is nothing. Rishi Sunak would lose his seat. Ah, there it is, Jed. There, yeah. Yeah, there's the stats, folks, for those watching. I know if you're listening, you'll just have to use your imagination. But look at that. And Jed, I wondered when you saw those numbers, which are horrific numbers from a conservative point of view, what's your thoughts?
Well, I'll start with what you started with. Polls are polls.
Yeah.
However, there are some polls you can go, that reflects the mood of the country.
Mm-hmm.
To say that Labour would have that amount of seats, I don't think is right. But to say Tories have that amount of seats, I would say they'd be lucky to have that amount of seats. Because there are so many people completely and utterly betrayed by the Tory party that they would still can't vote for Commie Starmer. They can't vote for the Tories because what they want is control on immigration. They want a control on they want net zero cancelling. Yeah, they want their energy bills back to normal.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are three, and they want the NHS to actually work. Yeah, and not just spend money, because that's all it does at the moment. It spends money. Right? So that's what they want. Those four priorities. And I'm afraid Labour aren't going to give it them, and certainly the Tories aren't going to give it them. So you need a revolution.
Well, this is why I see Billy Piper over on YouTube's made a very good point, and he's saying it is an and I agree, Billy. It's an orchestrated failure, and the Conservatives are in on it. Vote Con, vote Labour, you get the same. And he's right, isn't he, Jed? Because at this point in the game, and I think it's been like this from about 1990, by the way. So it's not just today or yesterday, but it's so obvious that there's no difference between these two parties, and that's why, Jed, a lot of I see it myself on social media now. A lot of people that would be definite, they're all Brexiteer type conservatives, right? They've had enough. They will not vote for this, but they might abstain. Like they might just say, "Well, I'm not going to vote," but they won't vote for the Tories. I say the Tories are doomed.
Do you they are complete. They're finished for a generation. But I don't want Labour for a generation.
I know, but you might get them.
Now the thing is, I was just thinking of a point there, and I've lost track of it now. I was listening to Darren Grimes, and and the point is gone. I've now got. It'll come back to me, David.
So the Tories are gone, and I actually think I put out a podcast today saying it's like the death rattle of the Conservative Party we are seeing. Hi, Jacques, all the way down in, I think, a pretty cold Cornwall there over in the Getter. Thanks for tuning in. So, Jed, I think the Tories, the numbers you can argue with, and as you say, polls are polls and all of that, right? But this is why I think this one out. It's the death rattle of the. It's great picture. I wonder who chose that one, Jed.
I wonder, mate. I wonder
who chose that. But they really are. They're dead. They're dead. They're dead. I'm not sure that they all get it. I'm not sure they do. Some do, because as you know, Jed, some Tory MPs like Matt Hancock have said, and Sajid Javid, who were both health secretaries. There's the thing. They're not going to stand again. And there's others who are stepping down as well. So I see this tsunami coming that's going to wipe them out. And then here's the question for you, Jet. Here's the question. So, that being, I think, pretty much a banker, we can pretty much guarantee that. The problem is, and it is a huge problem, Jed, we're going to get Labour. Now, I don't want Labour. Labour is worse. They're actually worse than the Tories, although they don't pretend to be patriots, and the Tories do. So you might say, well, at least they're honest in their hatred for the country. But I can't see anything that's going to stop a Labour majority in 24.
No,
Do
I
you?
don't. Okay, no, I don't. A Labour majority, but I don't think it's going to be as big as what they think it will be, because I do think a lot of voters are going to switch, and they're going to switch to that other blue party. That other blue party that at the moment is on a surge. That other blue party that is now into double figures on polls. That is actually now either the third main party or at least joint third with the Lib Dems, and is only 10 or 11 points behind the Tories in the polling. So I think the Tories have got a shocker. Yes, it's going to be Labour, but I think the other shocker,
Yeah.
Labour's going to kick them in the left testicle, and I think in the right testicle, Reform UK will kick them there too, because I think Reform UK will pick up some seats.
Well, in a two-party system, which like we have, it's very, very difficult for smaller parties to get through. I mean, it's just a matter of observable data. It's hard, but I think you're right. I think true conservative voters will obviously not vote for Labour. That's a given.
No, there are people that are blue through and through, and there are people that are red through and through.
Yeah, but I don't think Tories voters are going to vote for Sir Keir Starmer's mob. I don't see it. They're not going to vote.
No vote Reform.
So well, or they won't vote, or they won't vote. Your enthusiasm for reform is interesting. What we need to do is, Jed, we need to get someone from the Reform Party to come onto the show, and we can talk to them, and they can tell us why the things.
Well, you have all the contacts, David. You seem to get all these fantastic guests along. Like America's psychic woman or whatever she was. You got her before GB News got her.
I know. I know that. I know. I saw that. GB News are stealing my guests, but
you're leading the way, mate.
That's something I can go.
Can I just say though to the listeners and viewers that David's leading the way today, because David came into the 21st century today with he's now got fibre to the property, so he's now all singing, all dancing with fibre to the property, guys. So there's none of this. He can't go. Oh, my broadband's gone. My broadband's gone.
Yeah, actually, that's true. Jed has spilled the beans. I got fast fiber to the property, and up until this point, I've been using BT copper to the property, which is essentially prehistoric. So that's sometimes one of the reasons why we've had the problems.
I think you've been using BT small signals in the past.
I don't know what we've been using, but I put it like this. Well, you saw the speeds, Jed, so it's a lot better. So I'm really pleased. Well, what it means is that I guess we can get more of this stuff out without me sitting here pressure, sweating, thinking, oh my God, the signal's going to go, which it tends to do about 10 to 9 at night, folks. That's the real test. I don't know what BT do at that time of night, but 10 to 9 at night here in the middle of the country, signal goes. So, yes, Billy Piper, in Northern Bogland, we finally caught up in the 21st century. So I'm delighted to have it. So, so that's a big plus. So, as I say...
Oh, sorry, I distracted you there, David. I didn't mean to.
I think one thing, old Baz has mentioned it, and I know someone else mentioned it as well. I think one of the things that's holding back support for reform is Richard Tice, because I can see comments made about Richard Tice. Now, I would love to ask Richard Tice to come on to the stream, Jed, on Twitter, but Richard Tice has blocked me on Twitter. That's not a good thing, not a good sign. And of course, he's only the leader because Nigel Farage chose not to be. That's the other thing to be said about that. So,
but it's an alternative, David, rather than going, I won't vote at all. What you can actually do is still give the Tories a bloody nose without voting for Labour, or give Labour a free pass by not voting.
Yeah, Yeah, no, absolutely, and like quite honestly, that's going to happen, Jed. We know that's going to happen, and this is actually quite a similar scenario as our American friends. I'm going to just jump into America in a second here because I want to talk about something else that relates to 2024. Billy Piper says of Richard Tice, he's a capable man, but he has zero personality. I wouldn't say you're far off the mark there. I don't understand why Richard blocked me. I never said anything bad, but I don't know. Strange. Anyway,
You might be
Claude.
on one of those lists that his girlfriend has. You know, those will block you because we think
Well, of course,
you're far right.
we know who his girlfriend is, don't
We
we?
do, yeah, yeah.
The lovely Isabel Oakshott. So who I
Who
quite like.
claims to be claims to be a conservative, but I'm not sure she is.
Yeah, old Baz is straight in. Vroom. You don't hang about old Baz. Tysus Missus is a liberal leftist. That Oakshott woman. I quite like. Actually, old Baz. I gotta say, I quite like Isabel. I don't have a problem with her. She
No, I just think she says things to get her on TV. I
she might
think she is a media. I won't use the
enthusiast.
W word. A media
Yeah,
hog.
enthusiast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is that well, for whatever reason, anyway, Richard doesn't want to talk to me, so that is fine. That doesn't mean that I don't support the aims of his party and indeed other parties. Billy Piper says he's punching above his weight. Fair play to him. Billy, how dare you say that?
Amazing what money does.
Yeah,
Amazing
well,
how good looking it makes you when you've got money. That's my wife.
yeah, okay. And meanwhile, Jed's right. A wife comes on the stream. We have UK armed forces on the sea over in the Getters. They're saying um, that the Reform Party has got MSM support, which is not a good sign. And Richard doesn't want to talk to you, David. Well, he's a bleep then. I don't know. Maybe we can kiss and make up. I mean, I've always been, Jed, open to essentially anybody coming on. By the way, Claude, you asked me about Andrew Bridgen, who made a speech in the Commons today, Jed. I don't know if you saw it,
I
or
do.
was it?
I've got it.
Yeah, have you got it? I
Yeah.
think we have to be a bit. Well, I'm sure we can play it if you want, because I mean,
let me line it up, David. It's your call. It's your
yeah,
channel.
yeah.
Line it
So
up.
okay, let's go to this one then. And hey
Just a second.
YouTube, hey YouTube, and hey Facebook. This is a parliamentarian speaking in the Westminster Chamber. So if we can play maybe just a clip. I don't know if it's a short clip. It lasts forever, I think, Jed. So
Well, no, I've got the Twitter clip that you put
oh,
out.
have you? All right, yeah. Okay, so this is Andrew Bridgen, who I have asked onto the stream twice, by the way, and he still hasn't turned up. But here he is speaking. Jed, if you got it there, if you
Yeah.
want to just play that little Twitter clip,
No
let's have a
problem.
listen to Andrew Bridgen, who's one of the better Tory MPs, to be fair.
Deputy Speaker, it's also been brought to my attention by a whistleblower from a very reliable source that one of these institutions is covering up clear data that reveals the mRNA vaccine increases inflammation of the heart arteries. They are covering this up in fear that they may lose funding from the pharmaceutical industry. The lead of that cardiology research department has a prominent leadership role with the British Heart Foundation, and I'm very disappointed to say that he has sent out non-disclosure agreements to his research team to ensure that this important data never sees the light of day. This, Madam Deputy Speaker, is an absolute disgrace.
So there you have it, Andrew Bridgen MP, YouTube, Facebook. And meanwhile, on other free speech platforms, we're okay with that. But I mean, I think he made some very good points, Jed. And thanks.
No, he did.
Sorry, Alphabet Cat's just saying I chaired a discussion with Andrew Bridgen, Jeffrey Bloom, and James Dellingpole. I did, Alphabet Cat. Well remembered, a long time ago. But anyway, back on topic, Jed. So, what do you reckon to what Andrew was saying in the comments there?
He's saying what we've known for 18 months. And it's about time that this is now getting airtime. You know, I know you're not overly keen on GB News, but they do talk about vaccine damage. They do talk about it, all that sort of stuff. And this information is coming out. So as I find it, I put it out on Facebook. I'm waiting to be banned on Facebook. Yeah. And I put it out with the comment, Facebook, this is an elected member of the UK Parliament. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that report was to the effect of, I'm now paraphrasing, I said this from the outset. I do not wish to be the one that said, I told you so. And we all sit here as pure bloods.
Yeah.
And we said we've been demonized forever and a day, but the evidence is coming out now supporting what we've always said about these. And sadly, you and I have got family members who have taken these jabs. And I just keep my fingers crossed every day that I don't get that call to say something has gone wrong.
A couple of great comments coming in here. I see over on the YouTubes. Leslie Butler makes the very valid point, and I did see this, Leslie. I'm sure so did you, Jed. Very good speech, but only 5 MPs listening, shaming them. And our friend,
I agree, shame.
And James Jameson, just underneath that over on YouTube as well, says, and again, James, listen, you're so right in what you say. The House emptied as soon as vaccine adverse reactions were raised. Absolute cowards and charlatans. And again,
that's it, David. That's it, because they can't be part of the debate because they pushed it. So they have to denounce it. They have to stay away from it because if they agree and if they go along with what Bridgen is saying, for example, and they debate it and argue conclusions, then they're admitting that they were part of a genocide.
Well, they certainly would have a lot of questions to ask, because if the COVID therapies, the gene therapies, aren't what they say, then there's a lot of questions to be asked. I think Andrew Bridgen spoke well, and you know, the thing is, I mean, some of us maybe might take. This is maybe splitting hairs, right? But some people might say that Andrew Bridgen's whole speech was based on the premise of a pandemic. Some of us take issue with, well, what pandemic was that then? Because it didn't happen in my country, in Northern Ireland, because I've got the data. So where was this pandemic? But that aside, I don't want to quibble. He's one of the few, Jed. In fact,
David, but I think the truth is in the pudding, as we saw there, and as people have commented, there was only 5 other MPs in Parliament listening to that. And that shows they're running scared. They are running scared. Look how many people are not standing in the next election. Both past health secretaries are not standing.
Oh yeah. What
a surprise, eh? What a surprise! But I tell you what, I'll do a Matt Hancock and get my book out there, my truth out there first in my shoddy second-rate book.
Yeah, it's pathetic.
And then we can go, oh, no, Luke, I told you what happened in my book. Read my book. That's not what happened. But I see it is. You know, they're all cowards.
Everything we're saying concerning Matt Hancock, this is the establishment looking after their own, trying to give them protection. Same with Savage Javid as well. These, as you said, Jed, these were the health secretaries in the UK who presided over it all. But guess what? For all our American friends, lest you think we're being too UK-centric, I see Dr. Anthony Fauci. Dr. Fauci, have you had your booster yet? Dr. Fauci, unfortunately, the new Twitter owner, Elon Musk, put out
that was brilliant. I know what you're going to say.
He put out a couple of excellent ones, actually. He put a great meme out.
I'll see if I can find it, David. I know you retweeted it.
He put a great meme out. But the other thing is, he put out just a tweet, prosecute/Fauci. Prosecute Fauci. And of course, Fauci wasn't too amused at this. And along with some other liberals, he's very upset. at this Twitter 2.0 that Musk is in charge of, which I'm on and enjoying, it has to be said, because you are able to say much more, and you can say them to people like Dr. Fauci and anyone else that before they block you, of course, over on the Twitter sphere. But Fauci, Jed, just here we go.
There you go. There you go, mate.
Yeah,
I thought that was brilliant. My pronouns are prosecute and Fauci.
Fauci. Yes, it. Yeah, yeah. Now, somebody else, and I may or may not have seen this. Somebody else obviously picked up on that, Jed, and they said to him, "Let me guess, you've got information on correspondence between Fauci and Twitter, or urging the censorship of anybody who opposed the all the paraphernalia concerning COVID." And what did Elon?
I think these memes are brilliant at the minute.
Oh, these are memes, yeah. But so the thing is that no, that threw me a wee bit.
Sorry.
By train of thought. So the thing is that Musk then responded with a trophy, the person that got it right. So I reckon Elon Musk has got evidence of Fauci and the gang being in contact with their pals in Twitter headquarters, trying to shut up people like me, people like much more eminent people like Peter McCullough, Robert Malone. I mean, all these people were taken off Twitter, and I think we call it Musk has got the receipts.
Yeah, so, I know. I think he has. I do think he has.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just reading again. I'm trying to multiple.
Yeah, I'm trying to read some comments as well.
I think Leslie, good to see you, Leslie Oles on the stream. Leslie says something interesting happened to yesterday. I went to the doctor, both me and my husband, but not one mention or suggestion of giving us a COVID shot. Yep. So, yeah, I mean, I think, Leslie, there's a definite thing. I think there's a tactic, there's a retreat of some sort from the jabs. Number one, the uptake on the fourth jab for those who have been so crazy to take the previous three.
Is that 4th or 14th?
It may have been 14th. At this point, I don't think the people that are doing it are counting. Like, let's be honest about it. They're not counting. If you've had to take 4 or 5 of something to protect you from the thing that you keep getting, that's the other thing in all of this. I mean,
some people have had more. Sorry, Dave, this is going to sound rude, but it's not. It's a play on words. Some people have had more pricks than the second-hand pincushion.
Yeah, indeed, and yes, it is, and that's a pincushion joke. Yeah, our UK Armed Forces over in Getter says he's on his 44th, only 44. Well, that makes you.
He's a slacker. That's where he is. He's a slacker. McFly, you're a slacker.
He is a refusenik. It's a disgrace. And yeah,
Private Pile. That's where he is. Private Pile. You know, is that a jelly donut in your footlocker or a COVID jab?
But you know, there's so much stuff floating around at the moment with regard to. Well, we'll just talk about jabs for a second, because the whole. I'm not sure if you guys in the States are getting this, but we're getting it here in the UK. We've got this strep A. Oh, the strep A epidemic, and strep A is a usually mild bacterial infection in the throat, which is treated by amoxicillin or penicillin. Those are the treatments for it, right? But all of a sudden, there's I think up to 16 kids are alleged or reputed to have died from it. And the thing about that is that it's kind of weird, because this has not been what has happened. And I was wondering, Jed, is there something that's happened to kids in the past year or so that might have impacted? I can't think. Can you?
Well, David, I can't think of anything that would cause this. And the reason I say that, and I'm going to insert, although I'm trying to agree with you, I'm probably going to disagree with you. But
okay,
this is not unusual.
Hmm.
This, for kids, is not unusual. It tends to happen every year. Same amount of kids sort of die, same amount of kids get infected. The only difference is This time round, it's happening in November, December instead of January and February.
Yeah.
It's happening a little bit earlier in the year. And I saw a guy, or I heard a guy on Vaccine Radio with Field Marshal General of all armed forces in Ukraine, Julie
Yeah.
Brewer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's what he was saying. He was a doctor, and he was saying that the only difference this time round is it's earlier in the year than it normally is.
Yeah. But don't worry on it, because the good news is they're working on a vaccine for it. That's going to work out.
Well, I tell you what, that'll be supercharged, and it'll be out in 5 days' time.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
100%.
it'll be tested on a rat
maybe two.
that died
Maybe two.
6 hours
Something like
later. But don't worry, you're all right for 6 hours, for 5 hours and 59 minutes.
100% safe, 100% effective YouTube. Isn't that right? Yeah, absolutely. Alphabet Cat says also a certain safe and effective treatment might have compromised their immune system. Absolutely spot on, Alphabet Cat. You're dead right in that. But I did see, actually just related to this, I see a story someone came up on. John Gleason's talking about kids wearing masks in London today. I saw a primary school, it might have been in Wales or somewhere, and because apparently, Jed, in this primary school, so many kids and teachers, 20% of the teachers had come down with strep A. And I'm sorry, I'm not believing that.
No,
I
I
think
don't.
20% of the teachers wanted to go Christmas shopping. What do you say?
I agree, mate. I totally agree, because he wanted to get it in before the train strike started.
Yeah,
because now they can't get into London and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Why? Because we're being held to ransom by Lynch and his mob. Yeah, Lynch, who will be paid no matter what. The country's being held to ransom. I say sack them all, and we'll get new train drivers. Sack all the nurses and all the doctors when they strike. Sack them all, because you're going to die anyway. You're waiting 7 years, or sorry, not 7 years, 7 million plus are waiting for appointments. I'm waiting. By the time I get my appointment, my appointment's been cancelled now in January to see the specialist. So he can tell me I can have an operation in 12 months' time. So I'm already at the 4-year point before I get my operation.
Yeah.
So you might as well just sack them all, because less people will die, because there'll be nobody in hospital getting infected by dirty hospitals and dirty procedures. Sack them all, close all the hospitals, and we'll go back to witch doctors and leeches. You'll live longer.
Yeah. Oh, also a big warm welcome to over on YouTube, English Bottle Cap, to Dee, to James Tyler. Thank you all for being there over there. Appreciate your time with us this evening.
Nice new names.
Yeah, good to see you. And thanks for being here, folks. Yeah, I mean, look, but at the moment, the UK is being held hostage by mostly public sector unions, not exclusively, but mostly public sector unions, and also these train drivers. What needs to happen is automate the trains, get rid of the drivers, and yeah, that's what we need to do. That. And by the way, I'm sick of these nurses telling me what a wonderful job they do, and the doctors. I put out a Jeddah, as you know, yesterday. I put out a podcast, and I was curious, why is it for the first time in 100 years that the nurses are striking? Why might that be? And I thought, well, I'll do a little bit of research, and I did. And I looked up the number of nurses who are not of British nationality has rocketed to it's almost 25%. And the number of doctors who are not of British nationality, it's about 33%, 34% or so. So, Jed, my theory was that I was speculating, as I want to do, could this newfound militancy in the NHS be to do with the fact that roughly about a third of the NHS, and I'm talking these are the frontline workers now, the nurses and the doctors, they're not natural born Brits. Do you think that could be a factor?
It definitely could be a factor, because bear in mind, if they're not native, then the chances are they are sending money home. They're sending some of their money back to where they came from. So, and therefore, not spending it in this country is the major point of that. What they are doing is siphoning money that should be going around in our economy, to feed their own back in their own country. So that's part of it, David. But ask yourself why the government is doing this, because it's got. You could say, well, it's cheaper to bring in a third world doctor, yeah, but it's not, because some of these third world doctors, we need then interrupters to interrupt for them, yeah, because they don't speak English very well, yeah. And so that's an additional cost. I mean, you look now because of mass migration. You watch something like, 24 hours in custody or whatever it might be. And there's a litany of people lined up, whether they're interrupters, whether they're lawyers, this, that, and the other, whether they're human rights people, just sucking money out of the system as if it's their pot to drink from. As much as they can guzzle down, they can have out of the taxpayer-funded, coffers. And the nurses and doctors are the same. The doctors are on fantastic wages, yet they're still going, oh, we're going to go on strike. The nurses, they get in increments, as you said in your podcast, David.
Yeah,
they get in increments every single year, just like in the army. You get in increments every year, so you get Yeah, absolutely. So you get the standard pay rise. Most years I was in, it was 1 or 2% pay rise you got, but you still get your increment as well. For doing an additional year's service, and they get the same. So to say, they're all going. I tell you what, I could go around any NHS hospital. I'm on a rant now. Any NHS hospital that says, oh, we've got nurses going to food banks. And I bet you I could go to those nurses and say, right, first of all, do you smoke? And some of them will smoke. I know a lot don't smoke nowadays, but some of them will smoke. Do you have a mobile phone? Do you have internet at home? Do you have Netflix subscription or a Sky subscription? And I bet you they have all of these or some of them. And if you can afford all of these or some of them, then it's your fault that you are going to a food bank, not the taxpayer's fault.
No, those are good points. So that is absolutely true. I mean, although having said that, I mean, as was pointed out to me, like the thing about the nurses is, I mean, they did behave heroically during, the initial so-called COVID period back in 2020, because it took so much courage to put together those very complex TikTok dance routines, setting their backsides.
That's it. That's it. They shot themselves in the foot.
The wards were empty. You see all this? Oh, we were run off our feet. No, they weren't.
No,
I saw evidence. Yeah. Didn't happen.
It was a lie, David. It was a provable lie, because every TikTok video that took hours and hours and hours to get the choreography right, while they were on shift, showed not just them spending hours and hours practicing to get it right, but it also showed empty hospitals behind them.
That's right. Yeah, nobody there. Yeah.
So it was a lie from the start. All they did was shut down, condemned people to death. Matt Hancock, Maslin, or wherever it is, Mazadol, whatever it is, condemned the old folk to death. Bedazzling. Condemned them all to death. And you know why? Because they'll never face the consequences of their crimes.
We have James Jameson, who agrees with you, Jed. He says nurses on 35,000 a year going to food banks, I call BS. And I think you're right, James. I'm sure.
You see, I left the army, 14 years ago on 35 to 37 grand a year. And there was no way on earth I was going to a food bank.
Yeah.
I was living it large on that sort of money.
Yeah, but that, I think, there is a problem with some of the sort of nurses. No one wants to hear this, but we may as well say it. There are good nurses and there are bad nurses, but there are some bad nurses. And I mean, we see them in news headlines on a regular basis when they end up killing people. But these bad nurses are not paragons of virtue. They're not angels. They didn't, perform heroically. They didn't deserve the George Cross. But I think, Jed, what's happened is, and tell me if I'm wrong, I think the NHS has been lionized deliberately by the government. It's all psyops during COVID, given the George Cross and all that. And so I think, Jed, these people think they're more heroic than those who fought on the beaches of bloody Dunkirk. They're more, do you know what I mean?
But this is it. They're above that, David. You know, we've had what were it? Millions in the First World War. You know, millions of soldiers dying. You know, on the front. You know, the Somme and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
You know, and I've watched many of those films, and God, the heartbreaking. And you know, what's the famous one that's just been done about World War One? The name for. The name I'm lost for the name at the moment now. That's it. 1912. Yeah,
right,
or 1912 or 1917, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat will tell me. And I think that was an absolutely fantastic film, because I think it was representative of what a soldier goes through when they're going up and down those lines, and there's people sat in mud. And I tell you now, David, even in training, back in 1987, when I'd spent 3 days digging a trench to stand in it while it was peeing it down with rain, and it was filling up, and it was about my knees. And I thought, I have to sleep in this later tonight at the bottom of this, and it's already up to my knees. And that weren't even on the Western Front. I had it easy. Yeah. I only had to be in it for 5 days. I dig it for 3 and in it for 2 days. They were in it for years.
Yeah.
The nurses are elevated well above that.
Oh, way above.
In my opinion, utterly undeserved.
Oh, yeah. I just come in the back of that. I would happily pay those, Jed, in our armed forces much more money, because I believe they deserve it, apart from the ones who go to
Ukraine. When I joined, David, as a fully trained soldier, out of training, I was on £16,000 a year.
Yeah.
And I went, and I do remember going to my father-in-law and asking for my good lady's hand in marriage, and he went, "So what's your earnings?" And this is the reason it sticks in my mind, because I remember that evening vividly. And I said, "Well, it's like this, Norm. I earn £16,000 a year, but on that, if I get married, I will pay a reduced rent because of military quarters. Yeah, and any money I get in my wage packet or into the bank each month is my money to spend. It's spending money, so to speak, because all of the bills will be paid at that stage." And so he grilled me for I wouldn't say for some time, but he grilled me on my potential earning forecast.
Yeah, but these young nurses are coming out on 30, 35 grand.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're not in the trenches. They're
No,
sitting in
that's my point, David. They're not going to go to work and die. They're going to go to work and come home after a shift, after 8-hour shift.
Yeah.
You know, you could say, "Well, Jed, you didn't die." No, I didn't, you know, because I always said to my good lady, they never paid me enough to die for them. And they could never pay me enough to die for them. But the point is, I could go to work at 8 a.m. one morning and not come home for several weeks.
Yeah. Sorry, Leslie Butler says here, they're lazy and they do as little as possible. D says they're topping up with overtime.
Yeah, and D also says luxury, Jed, and I know he's getting that from luxury. He's getting that from Monty Python.
Luxury, lad.
Luxury.
I used to dream of being in a trench.
I used to lick the road clean with us tongue. Yeah, and Mum and Dad used to dance on our graves if we were lucky.
Yeah, but yeah. So I mean, look. The thing is, we've given that a good rattle. But the thing is that the whole this whole holding the country to ransom is pretty deplorable. Now, we've talked about a lot of UK things, and I know we've got a lot of American folks on the stream, and I wanted to we'll just try and finish this little segment with, did you see, Jed, there was a poll today, and again, I'm talking about polls all day. There was a poll came out that showed Ron DeSantis, the Florida governor, 18 points ahead of Donald Trump in terms of who would American Republicans like to see as their presidential candidate in 2024. Now, there was, in fairness, another poll that showed 21% wanted Donald Trump. And I thought this was interesting. And, the media obviously hates Trump, so they were going, "Oh, you've got competition." So my own take on it, Jed, which I did put up again today, is on the podcast, which you should all make sure you subscribe to the podcast channel. Make Yeah, Trump or DeSantis. I mean, like, I'm going to be straight with you. I'm 100% Trump. So DeSantis is a great guy. I think he would be a very good, number two for Trump in 2024, Jed. But Trump's the one that they fear the most. And I know he made a bad call over Operation Warp Speed. I get that. But most of his other calls have been good. So I stand with Trump. Where do you stand, Jed?
I'm torn, David. Torn between two lovers. That's a line from a song, I think.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. My lines from songs. I'd love Trump, but I'd also love DeSantis. I think if they could sort out the differences, we could have a Trump DeSantis team. Trump in for 4 years, Santis as VP, and then 4 years after that, it's VP. It's President DeSantis. If you see what I mean, for 8 years, so we get in for in theory we get in for 12 based on 4 years of Trump. That's what I would like to see.
Yeah, I think Trump's deserved he's deserved to have another run. I mean, our views on the fortification YouTube of the 2020 election, and
Twitter is showing that the fortification worked because the Democrats were in the pocket of Twitter, weren't they?
Yeah, well, see, this is the whole problem, Jay. This is my big problem, actually, even for 2024. The presidential election in 2020 was fortified. The midterms we've just seen were definitely fortified. And it strikes me that the 2024 ones are going to be fortified as well. So I don't know what you American folks all think about this, but it's a terrible reflection on the system, the banana republic electoral system that the Democrats, Jed, have perfected. They've perfected it.
That's right. If you perfect fortification once, you can perfect it every time. I mean, look at is it Ricky Lake? If I got the name right, is it Ricky Lake that's contesting one of the elections? Or have I got the name wrong there? Someday I'm sure an American.
There's if you're talking about Arizona, there's Carrie Lake.
Carrie Lake, that's the one I was thinking of. Yeah, she's now suing, isn't she? Because they've already certified that election. Yet there were 25,000 votes that suddenly appeared.
Yeah, but see, here's my problem, and this again for all you Americans. Here's my problem. So Carrie Lake is a fantastic candidate. She should be, in power. But I believe there's been great fortification in Arizona. But it's almost like she's being left by the party to fight this rearguard action against Carrie Hobbs on her own. Where is the rest of the GOP to support?
You could say that. Well, exactly. But you could say that about the Tories here. We've got some really good Tories, and then the rest of them are spineless. Well, the rhinos. There's so many rhinos that are sat in safe seats that'll be there from the first day that they fell out of college in the States. They'll be in that seat then till the day they retire, till the day they die, raking in, taking in big donor money, funding their families and big, multiple $1 million buildings or homes. And that's what's wrong. I can guarantee I can hear him now, David. I can hear him now in my own head. I can hear our good friend, City Troll, Paddy, saying term limits, term limits, term limits.
Oh, he always does that, yeah.
We need term limits, particularly in the United States.
Yeah, I think just looking at the consensus view on the streams here, it's pretty much that. I think most people are with Trump on this one.
No, they are, but a lot of people are saying Trump Lake. I've seen that a few times now.
Well, I wanted to see Trump Lake because she's brilliant as well. But the problem is that if she doesn't get in, she's no more significant than you or I or anybody in the stream. She's not elected. So it's very problematical, the US electoral system, guys, and that's not the fault of Donald Trump or Carrie Lake. It's absolutely the fault of the GOP and the Democrats, because they've both put up with this, and it's disgraceful. Now, look, we are coming to the end of our allocated time. I can see. I'm just watching the clock here. And James Jameson makes a point. Trump wasn't elected before president. Yep, you make a fair point, James. Got it. Yep, you're right. You're right. So maybe Carrie. Well, I'm a big fan of Carrie Lake, and I was so gutted that the fortification took place in Arizona, and I followed that one. Yes, D talks about Swamp Mitch McConnell, the swamp creature, along
But
with.
this is what I mean about because of term limits. You know, he got in just like Biden
right.
got in, and he spent 50 odd years, whatever it is, sucking, you know, the taxpayer money, you know, and donor money, and you know, and racketeering. Because that's what it is. It's racketeering.
Well, the thing is, the uni part, Republican rocker says the uni party, which it is pure AIDS. You're dead right about that. And Claude saying, what rhinos got money from Sam Bankman Fried, I wonder. Stephen P. Maglio says, I can see DeSantis being president one day, but right now we need leadership with a worldwide mentality. And, you know, amen to that. We need to see all these stupid wars being brought to an end. Donald Trump did that between 2016 and 2020. We need to see America being put. I mean, well, the only good thing I see, I wonder, did any of you see this? Did you see that Joe Biden's nuclear disposal secretary? Did you see this guy? I think he's called Sam Brenton. Is that his name? It was done for, he stole somebody's luggage at an airport, which was hilarious in itself. And then he was done a second time for stealing someone else's luggage at a different airport. The guy,
That's typical for Democrat, really, isn't it?
well,
you know.
Yeah, well, I suppose it's a symbolic representation of what they do to everybody. He ran off. He actually went up, lifted their suitcase, and walked off. But this was not just an ordinary guy. This is the guy that Joe Biden put in charge of looking after nuclear disposal. Well, I mean, that really reassured me. Maybe he'll put it all in a suitcase. I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, but the same over this side of the pond, David. Labour have just announced that they're going to put up a candidate for the next election that had to step down as a Labour councillor for covering up the grooming gangs.
That's shocking. Yeah, but
and then another Labour MP said, Sarah Chapman, the one that did the 1400. She said, no, he wasn't serving at that time. But actually, you look at the records, he was serving at that time. He served from 2011, I think it was, 2015. And the grooming gangs came out in 2014. And he tried to cover them up, and Labour have just announced that he is a candidate for that area for the next general election.
And that's why the Uni Party is AIDS in the US and the Uni Party is AIDS in the UK. We just, I think one of the consensus points, I think on my streams anyway, those of us who tune in, we've got pretty much complete disregard for these establishment parties, be they, red or blue, right or left. They're all the same. We know it. That's why people like Trump were different. They saw right through it, and that's why we stick with. Yes, Donny Girl says, "LOL, what a nutter." He really is. The memes about him are brilliant, by the way. If you haven't seen the Sam Brenton memes, I suggest you stick it into your search and you come up with some funny ones. Right, Jed? I'm just reading your comments here. Right, Jed, we've got a couple of funnies, I think, to end with.
We have, David. I'm trying to keep on my theme on the first one, as people. There are some people that are really, really stupid. Okay,
right. Go with that, and then
I'll go with the first one. Yeah,
then we'll come back in.
Then we'll come back in. So here's the first one.
Here we go. Yep.
So we have a 2007 Audi A3 2-litre turbo diesel. Customer states the reason he is scrapping it is because the ignition barrel has failed and the vehicle won't start. Now, he said to me that in order to remove the ignition key, he had to disconnect the battery, which rings alarm bells because normally you can't remove the key because it's not in gear. Wait, what? Hang on a minute. There's nothing wrong with that ignition barrel. It was in reverse.
See what I mean? How people are stupid. Yeah. My car won't start because I've left it in reverse.
Yeah, but you're expecting people like that to go out and vote in a sensible fashion. I'm not sure. I admire your confidence, but I'm not sure.
No, I know, mate. But that goes to the stupidity of some people. He scrapped his car because he couldn't get the key out of the ignition. He couldn't get the key out of the ignition because it was still sat in reverse.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll play out in the last one. So before we play out in the last one, can I do my usual and thank you, Jed, for being here? Thank everybody on the different streams, on the Getters, on the YouTubes, on the Rumbles, on the Twitter, wherever you are. Thanks for spending the hour with us. We will be back with our live podcast tomorrow night. So hopefully we'll be able to chat to you then. But in the meantime, that's it from me. And Jed's going to play you out with something to leave you laughing. Cue.
Here we go. You all know the good guy. Well, when it backfires big time.
Double it and give it to a coworker.
Double it and give it to a coworker.
All right, Emily, would you rather take this bonus or double it and give it to a coworker?
I'll double it and give it to a coworker.
Okay. Hey, Evan, would you rather take this bonus or double it and give it to a coworker?
I'll double it, give it to a coworker.
Okay. Take this bonus or double it and give it to a coworker.
Double it, for sure.
You don't want to take the bonus? Okay.
Double it and give it to a coworker.
Double it and give it to a coworker. Give it to a coworker.
I'll double it. No, you do not mean that. We do not have this money. Would you rather take this bonus or double it and give it to a coworker?
Let's double it and give it to
What? Take the bonus.
double it.
You didn't even know that was an option. Oh God. I'm gonna be in so much debt over this. Let me call a guy real quick. Hey, Warren? Yeah, I'm gonna need to borrow some money.
Yeah, so we all decided to just continue to double it, and we're all going to split in the end. He has no idea.